Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for our semifinals prediction show. I'm your host, Lauren Khalil. If you like listening to us chat about CrossFit news and everything that's going on in the sport, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. It's the final week of the semifinals. Now we are headed to Canada to take a look at the Atlas Games ticket predictions. We have Brian Friend, Tommy Marquez, and Patrick Clark all here. We're going to start with the men's side. And boy, it looks like you guys almost cheated off of each other's homework. Patrick Vellner at first, Jeffrey Adler in second, Alexander Caron at third. But Tommy, you have Jack Farlow on the podium. That's where things get interesting. Tell us why you did that.
Well, I was kind of riding the coattails of Brian Friend kind of bringing Jack to my attention earlier this season, and I thought, how can I maybe pick up some points on the rest of these guys? So, given the relative success we've seen some of the younger athletes, particularly the men around that 19-20 age range, it started to give me a little bit more confidence that some of these athletes can make that big of a leap in year 2, year 3 outside of the teenage competition. And I just thought his performance in the quarterfinals, in with that filter also placed on top of it, given what we've seen in semifinals, felt like the right time to maybe take a chance a little bit on a young athlete and put him up there and hopefully snag some points ahead of some established guys out of Canada.
Okay, we got to just flip between these two graphics because I am curious. Brian and PC, did you guys communicate at all between your picks? We can't see you shaking your head because the graphics.
Why would I?
No chance. I would never want to cheat off his homework.
Yeah, exactly. Why would I want to lose?
These are Tommy's picks.
These are. Oh, thank you, Brian. There we go. There's Brian's, almost identical. Brian, are there any other athletes that you were considering outside of these top 5 and then your wild card?
Oh yeah, definitely. There are guys. I mean, you saw Tommy listed Peter Mason there, Dylan Pettit, Austin Spencer, Nicholas Joyal. There's a couple of younger guys, Benoit Boulanger, for example, who we saw at Wadapalooza. Jean-Simon Wallimer is making a comeback from pretty brutal injury. But I just think that in general, the experience at the top of this men's leaderboard is really stout between Vellner, Adler, Caron, and Vigneault at least. I am surprised that Tommy left Vigneault off. Maybe something that I don't know, but those guys are just pretty consistent.
Ooh, Tommy, do you want to chime in there? Shaking his head.
So I just realized they made a grave mistake, and
oh no, you're trying to earn points back, Tommy.
I would like to.
That's why you're in the bottom.
Oh man, I would like to. Vigneault was a little bit lower on the individual quarterfinals roster compared to some of these other guys, so I'd like to take the time to apologize to the Vigneault family. And since I am scrambling and looking for a proper excuse, the one that I will use is the last time that Vigneault finished in the top 10 at the games, he failed to qualify the following year. So he was 9th in 2016. He was the only other athlete besides Matt Fraser to lead at any point during that competition, and then he didn't qualify last year. So I'm just pulling that out of the hat and hoping that my oversight somehow pays off. I feel bad.
No, that's okay. That was basically me with the Granite Games women. I didn't make the adjustments, and I felt the same way. But I think that for me, the kind of one of the storylines here is Cedric Lapointe. I mean, this guy's pretty good. He's pretty strong. He's very fit. Last year, he totally bombed the first workout at West Coast Classic, taking last in the field. He fought his way all the way back to 8th place and got into the last chance qualifier. But I think that he is really, really, ambitious about making the games and sees it as an opportunity. So he just needs to mitigate the errors, and I think that he is fit enough to get a top 5 spot there. I will agree with Tommy that Jack brought a threat for one of those positions, and it's just one of those seasons where the veterans have to be on the lookout because the young guys are coming up, and if you don't do it, like we saw with Adrian Munweiler, for example, too many mistakes in the weekend, and these young guys sneak in there and take the spots from you. So the veterans will have to be on point, but if they do what they usually do, I think that the top of the men's field at Atlas Games is pretty well established.
All right, Patrick. Similar question. Anybody that you left off here that you think might have been able to sneak in, or are these the top 5 that you're super confident with going into their semifinal?
I'm obviously pretty super confident in who I picked, especially since Brian copied off of what I chose. So, but now Brian hit on a lot of those athletes being the Canadian. Obviously, this is the semifinal, and as you can see, me and Brian, our top 5 and wild card are all Canadians. But there's a couple of Americans in the field that they might mix some things up. I mean, Logan Ewing, he's basically probably the final backfill to come in. He trains at Mayhem. He's a former teen athlete. He has potential to maybe cause a little bit of damage. He's another guy. Some of these Americans that are coming up to the Great White North, they're not going there watch Canadians, just sing their national anthem and drink maple syrup and eat Canadian bacon. No, they're going up there to try to do their best to try to earn a spot up to the games as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I think the top 5 is pretty much set, minus Tommy forgetting one of the most obvious people. But besides that, I think I think it's pretty much set.
Never gonna let him live it down. Brian and PC, yet again, you guys have a very similar roster on the women's side. Brian, what made you pick these 5 women, and why do you think that they're so dominant when it comes to this field in the Atlas Games?
Go to PC first, please.
PC, you got to start as the reigning champion here.
He's like, a pass. I'll take a pass.
No, it's super loud behind me right now.
Okay, gotcha.
For the audio quality, thank you, Brian. PC,
Sure,
you first. What makes these 5 ladies so dominant?
Well, that's like there's an actual dominant woman in the field. There's some familiar names in there, and there's some not so familiar names in there. Freya Moosberger, she's one of these young Canadians coming up. She really well. She kind of made a name for herself down at Wadapalooza. Had a really good open, even a better semifinal, quarterfinal. We all know the story of Boston. Here we are, a 16-year-old who's elected to go all in on her season, and I think it's going to help, especially against this field. But then you have an athlete like a veteran like Allison Scuds and Carolyn Prevost and Carolyn Connors. I mean, these are 3 well-known commodities. Allison Scuds has yet to make the games, and I think this field right here. She's obviously a lot fitter than she's ever been by training in that environment she has out in Vegas with underdogs. So I see her punching her ticket in this. But yeah, again, I don't think there's a dominant woman in this field. It's surprised if there is. And if there is, then I'll eat my words and I'll still win.
Ooh, fighting
Oh my
words.
gosh.
Brian, we're gonna flip right to yours. Yeah, see, basically the same except for 4 and 5. Do you think that there is a dominant woman on this field?
No, I mean there's just not a lot of games experience in general. The women who have been at the games before, the best performance any of them have had is Carolyn Prevost, who was 12th in this, in over 6 events in the 2019 games. The most veteran games athlete in this field is Danny Horan, with 5 games experiences, but she's never finished better than 18th. I think that Freya is just a little bit older than Emma, and so has a little bit more of a strength baseline and a better opportunity to potentially win this thing. But this is in my opinion, the least deep and weakest overall of the women's fields in North America, which just means that for the athletes that got seeded there, it's a great opportunity for them to potentially fulfill, in the case of someone like Allison Scuds or she's a great example, someone to just make the games who has, maybe not had a chance in some other semifinals in the past. She actually didn't do that bad last year at the West Coast Classic. She finished 9th. So I think that she's really excited about this, and I've heard that she's looking pretty good in her training. So,
Tommy, for you, you have Carolyn Prevost taking it all. What makes you think she's going to stand at the top of the podium at Atlas?
Because he's afraid to pick against her.
No,
she'll beat him up.
That
She'll
too.
beat you up.
Oh man, she'll hit me with that Canadian 2-piece and a biscuit. That she, but I don't know. She won the Atlas last year, and I feel like she's an athlete that has excelled in some of the online formats. She showed up, before she qualified for the games, she showed up very high on the Worldwide Open leaderboard. But I feel like something she maybe just gets overlooked a little bit in some of the things that she does really, really well. And knowing that we're going to get that complex that has a ton of below parallel. It's going to really be driven by leg strength. I think Carolyn excels at that. Now, there are some things that could potentially trip her up, but without any knowledge of the programming, I'm going to give her kind of an homage as you were the reigning Atlas Games champion, and until someone knocks you off, consider this like a kudos to you for what you've done so far. And I think that she'll be in the mix anyway. So it's kind of like a nod of respect to her because of what she's done in recent years, and maybe doesn't get quite the credit that she deserves.
Brian, what do you know about Elena Buds that you picked as your wild card?
Yeah, no, Elena's, she's a younger athlete. She's 23 years old. She did compete at the West Coast Classic last year. She had what I would say is like one stand-up performance and two kind of average performances in that field. I just think that she's an athlete who might have had a benefit from another year of training that can make another jump up forward in this field. This is a kind of a strange field. There's almost a third of the field has been backfilled as a result of people being unable to necessarily get to Canada. So someone who was like 20th in a field of semifinals last year might just inherently already be 15th. And so I think that if she's gotten a little bit better, there's a chance for her to sneak into, maybe be in the top 10 throughout the weekend and sneak into a last chance qualifier spot. So just another up and coming young woman that if you don't know about, this might be a good chance to learn some stuff about her this weekend.
It's going to be another. Oh, Tommy.
I was going to say, come on, Brian. Disc golfer, Dave Matthews Band fan. You just like your last name.
Oh, Tommy called him out.
Okay. I mean, those might be the reasons that Savan makes picks, but I have a little bit more substance.
Thrown under the bus.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's funny.
Thanks, guys. Some incredible picks yet again. We'll see how they all shake out over the weekend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see y'all next time.